I've lived on Maplewood Lane for nearly 40 years, long before the HOA moved in with their rules and their clipboards. My property was modest, my house functional, and my yard simple, but I worked hard for every inch of it. Then came the water crisis. It started one summer when the HOA decided to install a new irrigation system for the neighborhood, controlling water access through a shared pipeline. They claimed my property was out of compliance, and conveniently, that meant my main water supply was cut off unless I agreed to pay fees and follow their rules. Karen, of course, was at the forefront. The self-appointed HOA president had a sharp tongue and a sharper sense of entitlement. "We're just trying to protect property values," she said, as though threatening to starve my garden of water was standard procedure. At first, I tried reasoning with them. I offered to pay a fair share for the maintenance, to adjust my usage, even to comply with minor requests. Nothing worked. The HOA, led by Karen, insisted I had no right to control water on my own property, and proceeded to redirect the supply so that it bypassed my home entirely. For a week, I endured dripping faucets, wilting flower beds, and a barely alive vegetable garden. Meanwhile, the HOA's fancy lawns were lush and green thanks to my redirected water. I watched their perfectly trimmed lawns gleam in the sun, while my tomatoes drooped. But I've always believed patience, observation, and a little ingenuity go a long way. I began studying the new system, tracing pipes, and understanding the valves. Over a few days, I realized the pipeline they'd installed was clever, but predictable. With a little mechanical know-how and a touch of old-fashioned ingenuity, I could reverse the flow. It took a few nights and a lot of quiet tinkering, but eventually, I managed it. Water that once bypassed my property now flowed straight through my house and onto my lawns. More importantly, it began pouring out toward the HOA properties, their beautifully maintained grass, flower beds, and shrubs. The first morning, I watched from my porch as their lawns glistened under the sun, saturated beyond what was needed. Water sprayed in small arcs, puddles forming along sidewalks, and the meticulously designed irrigation lines strained under the unexpected flow. I stayed hidden, quietly sipping my coffee, while the HOA members ran outside in confusion. "What's going on?" Karen shouted, waving her arms in the air. "Our system isn't working." By mid-morning, their lawns were soggy, mud forming around flower beds, and sprinkler heads struggling to handle the excess. Their perfectly manicured paradise was now a wet, soggy mess, all because the water they had tried to control had returned with a vengeance. Of course, this wasn't about destruction. It was about justice. The HOA had attempted to dictate my property usage, redirect essential resources, and bully me into compliance. By reversing the flow, I reminded them of a simple truth: my property, my rights, and my water. By the time they realized the cause, it was too late. I had restored my supply completely, my gardens thriving once again, and their lawns left a soggy warning. I didn't gloat or confront anyone directly. I let the water do the talking. Karen, for her part, eventually stopped trying to argue. The HOA meeting afterward was unusually quiet when my name came up. No one questioned me anymore. No one attempted to redirect my water again, and my plants flourished. My garden, once nearly dead from their interference, was now a symbol of resilience, patience, and cleverness. Sometimes people underestimate the quiet neighbor, the one who waters their own plants, tends their own land, and doesn't complain loudly in meetings. But when pushed, they have the knowledge, the tools, and the determination to stand their ground. In this case, using the very system the HOA thought they controlled. Today, I sit on my porch, watching my tomatoes ripen, my roses bloom, and the HOA's lawn slowly dry in the summer sun. The moral is clear. Don't mess with someone who knows their land, understands the system, and has a little ingenuity. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe. There are plenty more tales of HOA drama, neighborhood revenge, and clever homeowner victories coming your way.